Morning over Okinawa, Japan's air defense network is silent until a signal flashes. A Chinese carrier group with the Liaoning at its heart slices through the Miyako Strait. Within 10 minutes, F-35 fighters lift off, destroyers reposition, and patrol planes begin 24-hour shadowing. But why does every move feel like a rehearsal? And what happens when the script demands a real response? Radar contact triggers a chain reaction across Japan's defense network. Within seconds, command relays scramble orders to Misawa. Pilots already on alert status race from ready rooms to cockpits. Engines ignite. By the 6th minute, the first pair of F-35s is taxiing, ground crews hustling to clear the runway. By the 8th minute, wheels leave tarmac, fighters banking toward the Miyako Strait. On board, pilots check sensor feeds, scanning for the carrier's electronic signature. Simultaneously, Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force destroyers shift course, closing on intercept vectors calculated overnight. Phased array radars sweep the horizon, locking onto the approaching Chinese formation. In the air, P-1 patrol aircraft launch from Kanoya and Naha, their crews prepping for hours of surveillance. Within 10 minutes of the initial alert, the shadow net is in place. Fighters above, destroyers on the waterline, patrol planes circling at altitude. Communications traffic spikes as data links fuse radar tracks and visual sightings into a single operational picture. Each unit checks in, confirming position and contact with the carrier group. The choreography is tight, practiced, and leaves no gap for uncertainty. By the 12th minute, Japan's layered response holds steady, every movement tracked, every approach met. The Liaoning carves through contested water. The Liaoning, China's first operational aircraft carrier, began life as the Soviet-built Varyag. After years of neglect, the unfinished hull was purchased from Ukraine in 1998 and towed across continents to Dalian, where Chinese engineers spent nearly a decade refitting and modernizing the vessel. Commissioned in 2012, the Liaoning became the centerpiece of China's carrier ambitions, but its origins and design shape every encounter in the Western Pacific. Unlike American carriers equipped with catapults, the Liaoning relies on a ski jump ramp, a solution inherited from its Soviet blueprint. This design limits the weight and fuel load of the J-15 fighters it launches and restricts both the pace and scale of air operations. Even after a major refit in 2024, the Liaoning's maximum sustainable sortie rate remains capped at about 25 to 30 flights per day. During short, high-intensity drills, the carrier has reached up to 48 sorties in a single day, but these numbers quickly drop off as fatigue and logistics set in. Over extended deployments, the ceiling holds firm. A navigation officer aboard the Liaoning put it plainly: from the moment it was commissioned, its purpose has been combat readiness. Aircraft have long been fully deployed on the carrier, and we have taken routine far-sea combat readiness training, but the technical ceiling is real. The ski jump system, while reliable, means that the Liaoning cannot surge aircraft the way a catapult carrier can. Japanese planners know this well. Rather than try to outfly the carrier's air wing, they rely on a web of sensors, persistent patrols, and patient endurance, playing a long game that exploits every hour the Liaoning spends at sea. Aboard the F-35, sensors flicker to life as the jet climbs toward its patrol altitude. Radar sweeps, infrared search, and electronic support measures all feed into a single digital display. Every contact, every blip, layered and color-coded. The fighter's multifunction advanced data link connects instantly, relaying sensor tracks to wingmen, destroyers, and P-1 patrol aircraft. Each F-35 becomes a node in a network, not just a shooter, but a flying sensor hub. On the water, Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force destroyers track the carrier group with Aegis phased array radars, their beams reaching out over 200 kilometers. When the F-35's radar picks up a new contact, that data jumps to the destroyer's combat information center in seconds. The destroyer's own radar picture, in turn, is piped back to the fighters, filling in gaps beyond the horizon. P-1 patrol aircraft orbit at a distance, their surface search radars painting a wide arc over the sea. Each sensor, airborne, afloat or aloft, adds another layer to the operational picture, stitched together by encrypted data links. A former Japan Air Self-Defense Force F-35 squadron leader describes it as flying inside a web of awareness, where a ship's radar warning or a patrol plane's sighting appears instantly on the pilot's screen. The result seamless, a real-time fused view of the carrier's every move, shared across air and sea. This technical backbone sets the tempo for every maneuver that follows. Shadowing is a discipline built on distance and restraint. Japanese doctrine defines shadowing as maintaining persistent contact, usually at a standoff of 5 to 15 nautical miles, without violating international norms or provoking a response. The distinction is sharp. Intercepts mean closing aggressively, while shadowing is about endurance and observation. Patrols rotate on a strict schedule. Kawasaki P-1s fly 8-hour cycles, handing off surveillance and seamless relays to keep the carrier group under constant watch. Destroyers rotate tracking positions, adjusting their stations to account for weather, sea state, and the carrier's own unpredictable maneuvers. F-35s too cycle through patrol windows, ensuring that fresh crews and sensors are always in the air. An academic specializing in maritime security describes this process as doctrine in motion, a choreography where every encounter becomes a live rehearsal. Each transit prompts minor tweaks, adjusting standoff ranges, refining data link protocols, or shifting patrol handover times by minutes to close gaps. The learning is mutual. Chinese commanders test new escort formations or vary their speed, while Japanese units refine their response cadence. The result is a dynamic, evolving pattern, shadowing not as a static procedure, but as a living doctrine shaped by every pass through the strait. Inside the Joint Command Cell, Japanese and American officers work side by side, monitoring the unfolding operation. Every radar sweep, radio call, and sensor feed passes through this shared nerve center. The integration is deep. Misawa's F-35s, Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force destroyers, and P-1 patrols all feed their data into a common operational picture that both Tokyo and Washington can access in real time. This networked approach is not just about tracking a carrier, it is a statement of alliance resolve. For Beijing, the message is unmistakable. Every movement is observed, every maneuver cataloged, not by one nation alone, but by a coordinated partnership. The choreography plays out on multiple levels. Japanese pilots receive vector updates from US Air Force liaisons, while Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force destroyers share tracking information with American ships in the region. Regular exercises like Keen Sword have made these routines second nature. Each response to a carrier transit becomes a visible demonstration of alliance capability, reassuring Tokyo, signaling Washington's commitment, and reminding Beijing that the Western Pacific's security architecture is built on shared vigilance, not isolation. The operational mesh is as much about politics as it is about tactics. The Miyako Strait cuts a narrow path between Okinawa and Miyako Island, a blue corridor recognized under international law as open for transit passage. Warships from any nation may cross without prior notice, a right protected by the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. For planners in Tokyo or Beijing, these straits appear as lines on a strategic map. For Okinawa's residents, they are part of daily life. The island hosts more than half of all US military personnel stationed in Japan, and the concentration of bases is visible in every direction. Radar domes on the hills, fighter jets overhead, convoys along the roads. Each carrier transit brings a surge of military flights, the rumble of engines, and the echo of distant alarms. Local officials voice concerns about noise, safety, and the strain of living at the front line of regional rivalry. A municipal representative from Jinwan says we want peace, but every time the carriers come, our skies fill with jets and our nights with worry. The strait's legal status may be settled in treaties, but for Okinawa, the consequences are measured in decibels, not just nautical miles. Every pass through the Miyako Strait carries the risk of a sudden crisis. Radar locks have become more frequent, with both sides accusing the other of aggressive targeting. A single F-35 radar beam sweeping too close to a Chinese J-15 can prompt an instant response from the carrier's escorts, sometimes with their own fire control radars locking back. These moments may last only seconds, but the implications linger. One misread signal could trigger escalation. Close-range encounters between patrol aircraft and carrier fighters push the margin for error even thinner, especially at night or in heavy weather. Pilots describe near misses where navigation lights blur and separation drops to less than a mile. There is no dedicated military hotline between Japan and China, so any misunderstanding must be sorted out over open radio, often in a mix of English, Mandarin, and Japanese. Static language barriers or equipment failures can turn a routine check-in into a standoff. On the water, destroyers and frigates maneuver in tight quarters, their wakes crossing paths just outside the legal limits. The risk is not theoretical, it is measured in seconds, meters, and the absence of a clear line for urgent communication. Every maneuver near Okinawa tightens the web of military calculation in East Asia as China's carriers expand their reach and Japan sharpens its response. The balance of power shifts with each sortie. The next encounter may not be a rehearsal. What happens here echoes far beyond these waters.